when I'm rated after I speak about 35 times a year, I just want to tell you in advance, well, if you don't have time to fill out those forms, I'll do it for you, just give them to me. But I usually get a 4.1 on delivery and a 5.0 on content. And this is not on a 10-point scale, by the way. It's a 5-point scale. So what I do is I buy a shirt and wear ostrich boots to distract you from my delivery and help you concentrate on the content. When I look at all the things I'm doing this year, this is something I've been looking forward to for a long time. Not just because I live in Nashville, but because you're not here, you didn't pay to come to a seminar to learn specific content. This is a message that I have chosen to give to you. And my goal, as you saw in the title, is to make it so that you have a more impactful life. That's my goal. And really, I would be satisfied if 10 years from now, I found that just 10 of you were influenced by this. But at the end of this, I want you to either agree or disagree. I don't want any middle ground. And if you disagree, I don't want it to be because I have not been clear. All right? Now, all of these pictures are mine. That's the one advantage of, putting your own presentation together. Even if the pictures don't fit, you can just throw them in and you'll find there's a connection in some cases, but in some cases there's not. And I'll try to point that out for you so you know what I'm saying. Thank you for your time. I just want to say that before I get into this. This is such a precious opportunity, and I feel such a burden to use your time wisely. Your time is more valuable than money, and thank you for coming, and thank you for inviting me to speak here. I'm very grateful for it. So many of you are hovering over life. The landing pad says life, and you're hovering over it, moving around, and you haven't really landed yet. You're playing around, or you're experimenting with things. Or even if that's not you, when you go to a family reunion, there's always the uncle who's on to this new exciting thing and may even want you to invest in it. And this is somebody who's been excited perennially. There's 15 times they have landed on the right job. We all know somebody like that. If you're that kind of person, you don't realize it. You're not self-aware probably. The person next to you does know that. And I would appreciate it if you would just elbow the person next to you if you think they fit that. I know a few of you in the audience where that would fit. You're hovering above life looking for a place to land. And it isn't just somebody who never accomplishes anything. It's also people like me who try to accomplish too much. I'm 53. I got home from Los Angeles late at night a few months ago, and I was in a very reflective mood. My wife was already in bed. It was about 11:30. I'm sitting in my office, which is in my home. It's dark. My dog's dying of cancer. This is starting to sound like a country song, isn't it? My dog's dying of cancer. I'm in incredible pain. I had just gone to the doctor and asked if it would help. I'd be fine if they just took my left arm off. I really was fine with that. I just disappointed a client. And I'm thinking to myself, what is my life? What difference am I going to make in the world? Have you asked yourself that question? What difference are you going to make in this world? I mean, you may be counting on doing amazing things with work and think that's going to change the world. But the truth is that the people that work for you, they'll remember you 20 years from now and everything about your management style. Nobody's going to remember what you did for work 20 years from now. And as I looked over my goals in life, I realized I had way too many of them. Way too many of them. And as I get older, I knock the goals that are at the edges of my life off, and I start digging deeper with the ones that are very important to me. I can't answer what that is for you, but I can say that you have too many goals. I have a Word document on my computer that's titled When I Grow Up. And I looked at it before I came up here, and there's 18 things on it that I would love to have been, career choices. And I'll never get to them unless there is, reincarnation. I don't know. I'm hoping that there is, and I know which one I would choose next. We have way too many goals, and because of that, we're spread so thin and really don't accomplish a whole lot. So as you think about this lack of focus that you have, where do you think it comes from? Because I find that it's a little bit unique to developed nations. I've worked in 42 countries, and it's more prevalent in developed nations. How did we become restless, eager opportunity seekers with life on a bow wave ahead of the ship, but it's always ahead of the ship? And so you say to yourself, okay, when I graduate, I'm going to do X. When I get married, I'm going to do X. When we have our first kid, then I'm going to. And it's always something in the future that you're going to do, as opposed to figuring out how to make life work right now with nothing else changing. Assume the economy doesn't change. Assume that you still have the same shitty boss. How are you going to make life work for you? You cannot count on everything changing and then you start living your life. This is one of those pictures that doesn't fit. This doesn't look like opportunity, does it? It looks like... But we live in the land of opportunity where it's almost viewed as sinful to pass up on opportunities. We're in the land of opportunity. And so to say no, when I say to my clients, you have to say no, they look at me and they try to form the word and they can't even do it. They have to go in the mirror and just, like this with their lips. They don't know how to say no to anything. That's part of what gets us here. We're also a culture of overconfident risk takers. Cowboys without horses. I think we also are reacting against the Industrial Revolution. When you think of the Industrial Revolution, what do you think of? Maybe Henry Ford with somebody on an assembly line doing the same thing every day, putting the front right fender on. And we define death as doing repeated things without new challenges. And we have overreacted to the Industrial Revolution. How did that get? It just skipped it, and you got to see that first. So we're going to go right back to it, because all of you had one of these, and this is the person who told you that you could be anything, even in spite of all the evidence to the contrary. And if I could fix something in somebody's life, their business life, usually it could be fixed if I could reach down inside them and pull up that level of confidence that they don't have. Frequently, when I'm working with people, I have more confidence in their abilities than they do. What's wrong with that picture? You have to still believe what your mom said, but I can't be your mom. So if that didn't happen for you, then what's the solution? So let's picture that you have 1 cup of water. That's your life. You'd drink it a little bit more carefully, wouldn't you, if you knew that was it? 1 cup of water. You could do a couple of things with it. One of the things that I think most people do is they pour it in a long, sort of 18 by 12 shallow cake pan. And so they touch lots of things and never make much impact on anything. We achieve a tentative confidence in many things. Let me just ask you a personal question. Have you tasted competence somewhere in your life? It could be business, it could be personal, doesn't make any difference. Have you tasted competence? And we all define that differently. The way I define it is if there's a mic in the middle and after I speak, anybody can come up and ask a question, I know I can answer any question they ask about that particular subject. How do you define competence, and have you tasted it? And are you tired of being in roles where you're not tasting competence? You ought to be. There's no clear, deep, enduring taste. And so you move on. And this is what you say to yourself: variety, variety, yes, yes, I can do that. No problem, how hard can it be? Full service, years of experience, bullshit, yes, bullshit, more bullshit. And if I could look into your life and sort of overhear the conversations you have, you're at a client's and you make a promise that you know you have no business making, and you get back in the car and you call your fellow employees on the way back to the office and you say, you will not believe what I just promised them. And that happens because you can't say no to opportunity. So when and how are we stamped with this true confidence? By the way, that's a little girl from Guatemala. I was listening very carefully to the speaker right before me because I lived in Guatemala for 13 years. And that subject is dear to my heart. At an early age, when we know we can be president, right? Our youngest son, they were in school, and he went to MLK, by the way, and our oldest son went to Hume Fogg. And when our youngest son it was just elementary, I don't remember what grade, but the teacher went around and asked everybody what they wanted to be when they grew up. And I don't know what the other kids said. I wasn't there, but Nathan raised his hand at that point. He said, I want to be a pyromaniac. Yeah, I think he was serious too, because we had to make some laws around the house about how many candles he could have burning at one single time. But if you feel like if I just picked one of you and said, okay, come up here and speak, and if you're terrified about that, the only thing that'll fix that for you, it's too late for the mom thing. Now, when mom talks, it's just annoying. It's marketplace acceptance. That is where you will get the confidence that you need to focus somewhere. And one of the reasons you don't focus is because you don't have enough confidence. And one of the reasons you don't have enough confidence is because you've never spent a long enough time concentrating on something to figure out how to be an expert in it. The problem is not lack of opportunity. The problem is your lack of courage. The only way we have true marketplace acceptance is to focus. And instead of pouring that cup of water into a 12 by 18 cake pan, we pour it into a champagne glass or something like that. That's how you impact your world. And I don't have any idea how you intend to impact your world, but I would guess that there are some amazing people in this room. Yeah, I took that picture. This one fits. Quit laughing at it. But with opportunity all around you, look, there's a rabbit. Focus means it just seems like waste, death, diminishment, missing potential. And so we go through our lives bouncing from one thing to the next and not really landing in any particular place. You gather opportunity by saying yes at the beginning of your career. That's how you gather opportunity, by saying yes, okay? The flip side of that is this. You gather expertise by saying no. And the reason you're afraid to say no is because you're afraid you'll run out of opportunity. And I think one of the most unethical business practices is shaping your business life so that it brings you the variety that you're interested in instead of bringing you the deep competence that people are paying you for. I did a study recently to figure out where that crossover point was, and it was between 32 and 34 years of age. That's when people started to concentrate. And the lower edge of that range was when they had dependents, and they thought, okay, I've got to get serious now. Why is focus so important? 3 things. It's the only method of providing repeated application. I'm going to say these in reverse, and then I'm going to come back and say them in the other way. Repeated application is the only way to see patterns. And finally, the very essence of intelligence is pattern recognition. And you cannot see patterns until you put yourself in a place where you can have repeated application. So if we do this backwards, and I did that intentionally, it looks like this. This is the way it should look. The essence of intelligence is pattern recognition. That's why we can measure it in young children who can't even speak, because we can draw a picture of duck, duck, goose, duck, and they point to the goose because it doesn't fit the pattern. That's why all of children's toys are usually built around pattern recognition, Legos, fitting things in. That's the essence of intelligence. Pattern recognition is only possible with repeated application. And finally, repeated application is only possible with focus. You remember this movie, A Beautiful Mind? He's standing in front of this wall, and he's noticing a pattern that nobody else saw. And you can see his face light up. And then he turns around and he says, "I think we need a map." I cried when I saw this movie. I thought I'd met my long-lost brother. So I want to rant some more. Focus is more about saying no than yes. When you decide about how you're going to position yourself in life, it's about saying no, not about saying yes. And if all you have is one opportunity, if you just have one opportunity and one slot, then you're going to take that opportunity. But if you have 2 opportunities, one that's not a good fit, one that is, you'll take the good one. This is why it's so important to always have more opportunity than capacity, because it doesn't take courage to choose the better of the 2, but it does take courage to say no when you're still going to be not quite as busy as you want to be. So take that single cup of water and pour it into a tall, narrow glass where you can reach deeply. See the patterns, hungrily gulp expertise. And I'm going to go through this pretty quickly here. I took this picture in somebody's garage. Isn't that interesting? If you get to the end of your life and you look back on it and you were not as effective as you could have been, will it be because you lacked opportunity, or will it be because you didn't focus? If it's because you lacked opportunity, then you're just an incompetent boob. The reason you will not have had the impact that you wanted is because you didn't choose and say no. Thank you very much.